Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello, and welcome to VCQ on this Monday the 10th?
Monday the 10th.
10th of December. It's nearly Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like...
A couple of big videos this week.
Yes.
I did a vlog about the refrets that we had Master Johnny Kincaid do for red and blue. Blue being mixed strat, red being my telly.
It's become called blue. Your red has always been called red. Blue has become blue, it seems, which is good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Never normally name my guitars.
Chris Bennett summed it up for us, echoing the sentiments of literally thousands of people, and he said, "Wow, beautiful work. A privilege to watch such a master." And it really was. I was there over 3 days while he was doing the refrets. Sorry, I just touched my nose then, thinking, oh. Yeah. And that Johnny let us in there and let us film the whole thing was amazing. And just to be with him while he was doing it, it was...
I was amazed. I was amazed
experience.
He was cool with you being in there, actually.
Yeah.
Dan did that whole video. Dan filmed on his iPhone.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Crazy. But yeah, we feel exactly the same way. It was a real privilege.
Yeah.
Cool.
Michael Michael Koulas says that was probably the best TPS episode just for that Clapton moment. We're talking about the Bass Breakers one at this point. And he would like to see a new segment called Simon Says.
That's such a great idea.
Simon's not here today. We do this by ourselves, which is why it doesn't look as good and is probably out of focus. So Simon's not here today. But yeah, Simon Says. A lot of people want to know more about Simon. Simon's quite a private guy. He's not super happy being on camera and stuff.
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Asked this loads of times, but Ron Rumsey asks, why don't you guys use stainless steel frets? Interesting question.
I played them in loads of guitars over the years. Obviously working on guitar magazines for so many years, you see everything and you play everything. Mm-hmm. And I think the benefits of stainless steel frets are they're much harder, they last much longer. Some people love them. Johnny's opinion on them was that they're just hard work. He doesn't really use them.
They're brittle.
Are they?
He made, because he was working with stainless steel, he worked on a stainless steel truss rod because they're so strong. He thought it'd be a really good idea for a truss rod, so he made one up, and he said he tightened it up and it snapped.
Oh, wow.
Because it's so brittle.
This is brittle. Yeah, I mean a fret's never likely to snap, but what that does indicate is that it will sound different. And quite a few people were like, "Really, frets sound different?" Yes, they do. So really on traditional guitars like on the Strat, and I'm sure it's true for you, Dan, I just don't want to mess with classic stuff. I'm classically cliched. I just want it original, old-fashioned. I don't play the guitar hard enough and wear it out enough to warrant doing the stainless steel frets. And I want the guitar as traditional as possible.
Yeah, I moved from a 6105, which is 2.1 mil.
I'm not even going to go there because I can't remember.
To a 6100, which is 2.6 mil. So half a mil width difference.
Same height.
I put half a mil width difference in the fret that changed the sound of the guitar completely.
Yeah.
So I know I wouldn't refret red with stainless steel frets, but if I found a guitar that I really liked that had stainless steel frets in them, that's a different thing.
Different thing.
Yeah.
Different thing.
Cool.
Luke Thompson. I wonder how many people are going to ruin a guitar trying to do their own frets. Yeah. I don't know about you, Dan. I've done my fair share of guitar butchery over the years, and I'm just over it. Yeah, pay a professional. Same with plumbing, same with electrical work in the house, same with carpentry, same with all those things that you could probably do about, 60%, maybe 65%. Pay the money, get a man in.
Rapid Solution says, thanks so much for documenting this. I'm planning to do my own refret shortly. Gulp. Starting one of my cheaper guitars though. There you go. Yeah. That's a great idea. Start on your cheap guitar.
We'll offer you that previous advice, Rapid. Right, Dominic Elderton, Tyler Johnson, Berserker. The Berserker, do you remember the Berserker? And John Haddad. It sounds like Dan is really struggling not to laugh when Johnny put super glue on the neck and said, "This thin stuff goes up cracks beautifully."
Not that I struggled. I just couldn't not laugh at that.
I think we better move on, mate.
Yeah. Okay.
But not far. In relation to Friday's video with the Blues Breaker pedals, which was a great show. It was really good fun, that, and
great.
You guys seemed to really enjoy it, and we had unprecedented level of comments on that. So thank you.
Yes, over those 2 videos, we've had over 2,000 comments in the week. It's been amazing.
We read every single one.
Every single one of them.
We don't respond to every single one because some of them don't require a response, and the most interesting ones we'll respond to here. But yeah, we do read every single one, and we really appreciate the feedback.
Thank you,
because it genuinely does steer the way we go.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it. So Daniel Hoskins helped us understand the graphics and the name of the JHS Morning Glory. He says, I always learn something from TPS. This week I discovered that after many years living in the USA, Americans don't appear to have a phrase to describe waking up in the morning with a... we can't say that. Anyway, apparently there's no word for that in America. But... Jeff Bootwile, Brandon McFalls, Bob Smith, DB, Hillheight, and Jay Sitton put us right. In the States, a morning glory is a type of firework we used to get as kids. It was a tube you sat on the ground and it shot bright, sparkly stuff straight up like that. It seems that in America, you're not... See, when you're in the UK... As a child from 5 years old, you're sat on a chair and forced to watch Monty Python. I don't know, maybe it's the British humour, but it was remarkably humourless.
It was.
All of that. So thank you for the clarification on the firework issue.
We appreciate it.
It's a firework.
Yeah. Now, in true TPS fashion, we got something wrong straight from the start. Ronald Eidmuller, Odd UK, and Matthew Baglini all pointed out that the original trio of Marshall pedals was the Blues Breaker, the Drive Master, and the Shred Master.
It was the Drive Master. I was desperately trying to remember as we did it. I was like, I'm sure there's another one.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for that. Yeah, so Drive Master, Shred Master, Blues Breaker, and apparently the Governor came out first before those three.
Okay.
Spencer Cox. Now, this I love this question. He says, if a Blues Breaker pedal is attempting to sound like a JTM 45, what's the difference between a Blues Breaker style pedal and a JTM 45 amp in a box style pedal? And I thought this was great. It's particularly relevant to JHS because, of course, JHS does the Charlie Brown, which is a JTM 45 in a box, and also the
Morning
Glory, which is a Blues Breaker style pedal. I thought that was fascinating.
Very, very good.
So the Marshall original Blues Breaker pedal is trying to sound like a Marshall JTM 45, and it uses op-amp clipping diodes in a classic overdrive kind of way. The amp in a box pedals, certainly the Charlie Brown, uses JFETs, as I understand it. But then I got totally confused because I'm looking in there and I see this little chip.
Right.
And the chip is a dual JFET op-amp.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Those packages, there's literally thousands and thousands of different...
So it's basically two JFETs in a chip, is it?
Yeah. So the chips, if you can imagine 2 transistors in the chip, and then you can get chips with every sort of transistor that you can possibly think of in that package. Because
it's an integrated circuit, right?
Exactly.
So it's using multiple components. And the other thing that surprised me about that, and I should know this, after years of doing this, it's much, much smaller than a 4558D.
Right.
So the little TLO72 that was in there is really super tiny compared to a 4558.
And that's the newer like small surface mount size of components they're doing now.
So many more questions on this. Anyway, hopefully that partly explains it. One is an overdrive pedal, the other one is trying to be an amp in a box, and I think we should do a video on that. Yeah.
Also the Morning Glory, as were all the other pedals that we had on the show, apart from the box of rock, were all inspired by the original Blues Breaker
by the pedal.
So
it's just different routes to the same thing.
Yeah.
It's going for the same thing using different type of circuit, which, yeah, I think that warrants a follow-up, actually.
Sure. Great.
Right. Paul Cowart. Hello, Paul. I noticed that the bass and mids were all the way down on the MiG-50. Seems a bit strange, but it sounded pretty good. Explanation, please.
I don't think they were. I think you might have been looking at volume 1 and 2 on the left-hand side, because you got volume 1 and 2 from 2 inputs, then treble, middle, bass, and presence, and the ones that were right down were volumes 1 and 2 because we didn't have it cranked. But the
Yeah, they were around about the middle.
Yeah, everything else was sort of...
Yeah, Josh said it in the middle.
Yeah.
So we started there and adjusted to taste.
SM19 says, I'm still confused about the definition of presence. This is really interesting. Like in the Pantheon, which we'll get to later, I also have a presence control on my Thorpe Peacekeeper. In Thorpe's manual, he interchanges presence with mids. I also have a presence control on my Fender Blues Deluxe, as well as a middle EQ option. Any clarification would be much appreciated.
Maybe you can explain the Thorpe thing, because that is an anomaly. That's just a dual control, is it?
So, yeah, but I think... so presence in the terms of how present it is in a mix, you could, and I think that's just a term that you might say to a certain frequency of mid-range. Presence, what we associate with in amplifiers, is often the negative feedback control.
Yes.
That's so the more presence you have, it actually reduces the amount of negative feedback in the circuit. The less presence you have, it adds negative feedback, but which makes it sort of more controlled. But a lot of people simply use the term presence for really high frequencies.
Yeah, so going right from simplicity, in terms of guitar amps, you might think of treble as one type of frequencies, and as Dan says, the treble control usually works in the preamp section, which might be pre or post gain depending on how the amp is designed. So how many treble frequencies are cut from, or what level of treble frequency is cut from the circuit within that, as it goes through the gain stages and the EQ. Presence in a guitar amp, as he just said, doesn't work generally in the preamp section. It usually works in the power amp section and does what he just described. So, and interestingly with presence, even though you think about it as high frequency, it actually controls, if it's done in the negative feedback way, it goes right across the spectrum.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not just, and it's very interesting. And I think it is just a term that has been sort of used.
Quite what Thorpe does in the Peacekeeper, I don't know. That's obviously some dual
We'll have to
function.
Have a look at that.
We'll have to have a look at that. Yeah.
I'll ask Thorpe.
Yeah. If only he were here. Oh, hello, mate. Lewis Cole. Hello, Lewis. Could you explain what you mean by the box of rock rebiasing the transistor? I had a Love Pedal Kanji Church Tone 50 COT. That's what that stands for, doesn't it? And it had the same noise, but I never understood why. So this was when we moved the gain control on the box of rock. Absolutely killer. So it does this. What does that mean, Dan?
So it means that you are changing the amount of DC going to the transistor. That changes the range in which it operates. If you imagine that if we feed it more DC, I mean, this is really crude, but if we give it more range to operate in, then it's cleaner. If we reduce the range that it operates in, then it becomes dirtier. So that's basically what it is. And one of the things with that method of doing stuff, as opposed to just simply controlling the amount of input it has through a pot, if you're actually rebiasing the transistor, it does that crackle.
Yeah.
And there's on the Church of Tone, it's called Crackle OK.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's what is, because people say, "Oh, hang on, is the pot dirty?"
Yeah.
No, the pot's not dirty. It's because it's rebiasing.
It's more common in fuzz to be talking about bias and transistors.
Yeah.
And in an overdrive, it's a relatively unusual way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that's what it's doing. Charles T. Jode. I wonder if that's Jade, but if it's not, then Jode Vincent Mahine and Mark Nugent. Why didn't we include the exotic BB preamp? And likewise, Jonathan Wang, Greg Charles, Jay Francos, and Juan Lamon. John Lemon. Among many, many others, wanted to know where the Kingtone Duelist was, the Jesse Davy pedal. So why didn't we include the BB preamp by Exotic, the Duelist by Kingtone, and also the Blues Crab by Mua? Why didn't we include any of those?
We didn't have them. Also, the show was about the Blues Breaker pedal. Now, the box of rock was put on there simply to show that there was another way to do that JTM 45 thing. But we will do it again, looking at, sort of a part 2.
As that came in, I started doing some research actually, and I emailed Jesse Davey and said, loads of people have said they really want to, can you send us some stuff? So Jesse's going to send us some pedals.
Oh, cool.
I think I might end up with a dualist on my board if I like it as much as I think I like it.
Right.
So as much as
we first saw those
I'm like
with
it. Joey,
with Joey, and he was just raving
Joey
about them,
Landreth.
so, yes.
Now, people keep saying, why on earth don't you just cable tie the horn to the chair? And I kind of might.
Right, okay.
But it's going to require some modification.
Someone commented this morning and said, the horn is life.
Nice, a bit of philosophy. Because we didn't have them, but we have ordered a dualist, and I started doing some reading on the BB.
Right.
And that's sent me down this road of, I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
So we'll do that as well. We will follow up and do that.
Cool. Mark Edwards asks, if a blues breaker pedal makes it sound like a JTM 45, what if your amp is already a JTM 45? I love it. Apparently, when the blues breaker pedal came out, it was that if you had a clean JDM 45, you put that in it, and it would make it sound just like it was cranked, right? Which is why it sounds great in any amp that has headroom, and it doesn't make the amp sound like a Marshall. It's got that mid-range thing that happens with the Marshall when you push it.
Yeah.
But it would just, if the amp has enough headroom, it's great. But if you do have a JTM 45 and you run it with headroom, then the blues breaker will make it sound like it is
more so,
but like kicking.
Okay.
Very cool.
BC, Box of Rock or Carpe Diem? Been a while since we played the Carpe Diem.
We need to, I think we'll put the Carpe Diem back on the board for the
let's do that.
2.
Let's do that.
Yeah, cool.
Kevin, Judd and a good few others thought we were way too harsh on the Wampler Pantheon because a lot of people said, read the manual, please watch the videos, please do a bit more research. The presence control was supposed to be set at 0 and only added if you have a really dark amp. This confused us both.
It did.
So with apologies to Wampler if they felt a little hard done by there. Actually, in the audio, I thought it sounded cracking.
It sounded great in the audio.
Absolutely brilliant in the recorded sound.
Yeah. And we eventually got there as well. We found that out. I have never seen a presence control that I would have automatically set at 0 for anything.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at so many different overdrives, and we sort of got to a point where we understand the way an overdrive pedal works. So to sit down and read the manual on every single one of those. Well,
I'm not going to say we didn't get a manual with that one because we got it sent early, so there was no manual with it. But anyway, we should have asked the question.
Yeah. So, but it's a fair point. So we'll have a look at that again.
I would also say I've done my fair share of product development, and I still do a bit of product development with various people. And one of the conversations that usually comes out early doors is we need to change the pot tapers,
right?
Because it sounds awesome, and then it's like, but it needs to sound awesome in the 10 to 2 range.
Sure.
Because people, including us, it would seem, cannot get their head around running pots at 0 or 10.
Yeah.
Unless it's gain.
Sure.
So there's a kind of, for me, personally, I would have liked to have cut on that presence as well as boost.
Yeah,
and that probably doesn't work like that in the circuit. It might not be possible. But anyway, we hear your... usually those comments come from people who've bought the pedal, feel like we haven't gushed about it, so feel a bit hard done by or hurt by it. So we apologise if you feel that way.
Yeah.
We will revisit the Pantheon because I think
we'll put the Pantheon back on when we do that round 2 thing. But
there's going to be 25 pedals on that board,
Brilliant. It sounded great in the audio when we recorded it.
It did.
So yeah, we'll have
there's
another
an interesting question coming up about that in a minute. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So
just to reiterate that fact, Douglas Kramer, Brian Bellin, Daz Guitar Tuition, and Russell Tanner all pointed out that Brian Wampler himself addressed the high frequency you hear in the Pantheon in a video he made, and said for a lot of brighter amps, the presence control should be nearly or all the way on. Wayne Tone Seeker Anderson says, Mick and Dan start by saying what a big difference in tone the frets make, but later reveal they are trying new strings. Guys, you know better. Strings make a huge difference in tone. This is very true. We were already trying the new strings before we had the guitars refretted.
Yeah, and everything matters. Definitely strings sound different. And if you listen to some pure nickels compared with, I don't know, some other kind of alloy, yes, they will sound different. But when you go from nickel plated steel strings from one brand to nickel plated steel strings from another brand, they will sound different, but I'm not sure about radically different if you're in the same ballpark.
Sure.
Contentious statement. Anyway, yeah, everything matters. Yeah. This is my favourite of the week. Charlie Parker. Hello, Charlie. I enjoyed your work. Is this for real? 1 hour plus of 2 rubbernecks bouncing between 5 pedals that all sound exactly the same. It's 2018. Biofractal geniuses.
Thank you, Charlie. We'll take it under advisement.
If those pedals all sound the same to you, I suppose that's a bit like me listening to a lot of modern metal saying it all sounds the same.
Yeah.
When it actually probably doesn't. If you're into it and you can hear,
hear
the differences.
Yeah. I have this conversation.
You have to learn to hear the differences, maybe.
As soon as I hear in the vocals, it all sounds the same to me. But then I talk to the guys at the office, and they're like, it's chalk and day.
All blues sounds the same. All rock sounds the same. All jazz sounds the same. All metal sounds the same. In brackets, if you don't like it.
There you go.
So if you don't like pedals, that's totally cool.
Also, Charlie, maybe try some headphones.
Yeah, or some good headphones.
Some good headphones. There you go.
PJSCBG asks, this is the question I was referring to earlier.
Right.
To your own 4 ears, how close sonically are we, the YouTube viewer listener, getting to what you hear in the room, basically?
Okay.
I know the recordings are great, but when we watch one of your videos, how do you feel the correlation of what's happening to what ends up recorded? This is just fascinating, and I could talk for half an hour on this subject alone, so let's keep it brief.
We do try to give you guys, the closest experience we can, but nothing was ever going to, reproduce what's going on here. Just the sound pressure level. Unless you can even if you take the audio out, plug it into a massive PA and stand in the same size room, it's still not going to be the same because you're only getting 2 sound sources.
Yeah. You've got 5 senses, haven't you? You've got sight, touch, taste, smell. How many is that?
And feel.
And
that's
feel.
touch. That's touch. Taste, sight.
Sight,
touch,
hearing,
taste, hearing, sight, touch, taste, hearing.
What are we missing, Dan? Smell. You've got 5.
Smell the tone.
You've got you know what? The minute this Friday show is a show about old amps. The minute they got hauled into the hallway, I was going, oh my god, smell that. The smell of an old Fender amp is totally unique. So anyway, in this room, we are getting arguably all 5 of those senses. By the time you stick it into that camera and into that audio interface, you're only getting 2. You're only getting sight and sound. So it's always slightly different. And so all we try and do is create a constant so that you have some basis for comparison. Now, compare that with every single one of your favourite records that you really love. The sound that they had in the room when they were recording is absolutely nothing like the sounds that ends up in your ears when you listen to that record, because it's been EQ'd, compressed, mastered, loads of outboard effects on it, mixed, all the other things. It doesn't sound anything like it sounded when Eddie Van Halen was in there playing it on his guitar. So there are creative choices that happen along the way. And it does rather call into the question the whole validity of YouTube guitar demos, because really what you are hearing is the choices made by the person playing and recording it.
Yep.
But if you watch a number of channels, which you absolutely should, so watch us, watch Andy, watch whoever Pete Thorne, watch whoever your favourite YouTubers are, and what you can start to build is a clearer picture of how the thing might actually sound, to narrow your choices to something that you might want to actually get in a car and go and try, because without doing that you're never going to know what anything sounds like. So
very good.
I've thought about this a lot, because I pain over the audio, and I try really hard to create a constant that is fun but realistic. Because absolutely realistic, for example, I wouldn't change any of the levels.
Yeah.
And all the quiet stuff would sound crap because it just wouldn't fill your ears up enough. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. I could talk about that for weeks. In fact, I was thinking of doing a vlog on the audio process as it is now.
Do it.
Compared to how it was when we did it first.
Do it.
I'll do that.
Yeah, fascinating.
Maybe.
Lawrence Ray, I have a question about clean boost pedals and master volume versus non-master volume amps. If I put a clean boost in front of a non-master volume amp, say a Princeton 68 reissue, no gain knob, just volume, and crank it till it breaks up, is this effectively turning the Princeton into a master volume amp using a pedal? No. If you have a non-master volume amplifier, basically, if you imagine the master volume is on 10, it's disconnected. It's not even part of the circuit. So when you crank that preamp up, the master volume is already cranked. So you are not only overdriving the preamp, but you're also overdriving the power amp section. So when you put that boost in front of that cranked non-master volume amplifier, it's you are boosting into an overdriven preamp and power amp section, which is a glorious way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not turning your amp into a master volume.
But is it a way to get overdrive out of a non-master volume amp at low volumes? Yes. So in a master volume amp, you'd have the master down and the gain up, so you get your overdrive.
Yep.
In a non-master volume amp, you can't do that because, as Dan says, it's open. So using an overdrive pedal up front does simulate the effect of having the gain up higher.
Sure.
So it's a way of achieving the same result, but it doesn't turn it into a master volume amp.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes critical when you turn the amp up more, which is what he just said.
Yes.
Similarly, Nicholas Lindsay asked this question at 9:10 this morning. It's now 20 to 11, Dan. That's how
well done. You're on it.
That's how current this is. So it's 20 to 11 in the morning. So we'll see how quickly I can get this edited and uploaded. To wit, we're only in 1080 because it took 3 hours to output last week in 4K. New computers required. If you have to choose one single channel amp, would you use an amp that has a lot of headroom or an amp that breaks up at lower volumes?
Headroom every day of the week.
Everyone's got a sweet spot along that curve, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because if you use an overdrive pedal, we are going to do a show on this, by the way. The overdrive pedal is adding gain, but it's also pushing the amp. So you never hear how much it's pushing the amp because the overdrive pedal's on.
Yeah.
But for me, that interplay between when the amp starts to break up and the overdrive pedal is the magic bit.
Of course, it's so important.
And everyone has different. But yes, sorry to be more quick about it. Headroom every day of the week.
Yep.
For me.
Mr. Sad Raby says, "What about Pettyjohn pedals?" Yes, indeed. I have contacted Pettyjohn a couple of times and hope to be getting some soon.
We have been asked a lot about Pettyjohn.
Yeah, they are in high demand.
Okay.
So, but I think they look. Have you seen them? They look spectacular.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of people talk about them.
Yeah. So we are hoping to get some in soon.
Tim Sheets has two questions. One, does the Boss OD3 fit into the Blues Breaker Club at all?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Don't know. Sorry. So someone else might want to answer that. Secondly, would you ever consider a show exploring some affordable 10-inch combo amps such as the Bass Breaker 7 and the Pro Junior and Princeton?
Yes, absolutely.
KM, as a newbie guitar player whose wife has just given him a spanking new V40 Deluxe.
Hold on to that woman.
Congratulations. How do I even... That's a victory V40 Deluxe like that one there. How do I even get started with pedals?
Great question.
For me, you would have one of the four major food groups, and actually three major food groups I would go for personally. Overdrive, I would choose delay because you've already got reverb and tremolo in that amp.
Good shout.
And some sort of modulation.
Okay.
So I would pick one from each of those camps. Dan?
Finding an overdrive that works well with the amplifier.
Yeah. And for that, think about anything remotely. Tube screamery works great with that amp. Equally, something transistory like a Hudson Broadcast would work really well. Marshall Blues Breaker, any of those ones that we looked at last week. And
also, it depends if you want a couple of gain options, you might want to look at one of those, a lower gain option and a higher gain option.
Yeah.
So, the the Andy Timmons or the
Yeah.
there's a
Depends what sounds you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about who your favourite guitar players are, what kind of sounds they use, and go there, I would say.
I always have at least 2 gain options, and a delay would be the start.
Yeah.
But then modulation. So I'd have
You'd have
exactly
4.
what you said,
Yeah.
but 2 different gain
But
options.
more gains.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good luck with that, Tim. Bell tones. I feel weird that I feel relieved that Mick has decided to stick with blue. So this refers to the refret video and also the subsequent videos we've done since the guitar's been back, and it's a rekindled. It's just so much better since it comes back. So thank you for everyone who's commented on that.
It does sound spectacular.
Yeah.
It does sound like there's a new life that's been breathed into it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's impossible to define about why you connect with a piece of gear, but it does underline everything that pedal show is about. It's not just line it up and decide which one's best, it's what connects. And that guitar, for whatever reason, I cannot explain it, having played hundreds of Strats over the years, is my guitar and I connect with it. So I'm happy.
Magic.
I am still going to get another Strat, by the way, but
Kyle Ford asks, wondering what pedal boards you guys use. So we've recently started using the Schmidt array boards. I've been using those. Well, yeah, I've been using those for a while. Mick's recently got his. You can see his recent pedal board build video. We also use, we've both used Pedal Train before in the past, loads. Also custom pedal boards. There's a bunch of really great options out there.
yeah, I got 3 pedal boards at the moment. I've got my big one, and then for little stuff, just going out to do stuff. If I've got to go and test some stuff, or and I don't want to take the whole board, I just want to take 2 or 3 things. I've got a Pedal Train in a case, like a little thin one.
Yep.
It's not a nano, but it's something up from that Metro maybe.
Cool.
Yeah. You can never have enough pedal boards. GFMGMA. Good for Mergum. How come you guys have not talked about the Vox AC31 yet? Or AC30S1 yet. Every single guy who owns an AC15 is wondering about this new AC30S1 now. You should definitely make a comparison between the two. Yeah,
Is it an AC30 with a single 12-inch?
it is. It's whatever they released just recently.
Okay.
I know people at Vox, and I've known them for many years.
Right.
But maybe we just aren't quite proactive enough in asking for things. We can't afford to buy everything. Now, hopefully that's obvious. That yes, we buy nice things, but we can't afford to buy absolutely everything. So, and despite what you might think, not everyone on the planet is queuing up to send us stuff to feature for 2 reasons. One, quite a lot of companies don't really get the value of YouTube. 2, they don't want us to say anything negative.
Yeah.
Not that we ever do say very much that's negative, but
we, because
we don't read off the hymn sheet, which is what happens in most product demos, which is not to be disparaging to anybody else, but usually product demos, somebody pays somebody to do a product demo, they read off the hymn sheet, they do the demo, they make it sound totally awesome, and that works for most companies. It doesn't work for every company.
Yeah, and so, I'm sure we've made the point before, but that's not what we do. You can't pay to have a product demo on...
We've probably just ensured that Vox will never send us anything ever again.
There we go.
Hello, Alan, if you're watching this, by the way. We do. Dan and I are both massive fans of Vox amps. We love the AC15. Dan loves his old AC30, so I'd like to hear that.
Definitely. Right, and to the end, we have had a few genuinely unpleasant comments this week.
Yeah, we've sort of taken to reading out some of the negative comments, which is fine, but we've had some really horrible stuff this week, which is, I don't know. I just, to anyone who feels like you need to say this stuff, I just hope your life gets better.
Yeah.
Because there's a sadness coming out there, and I don't want anyone to be sad. I want them to be happy and do things that they enjoy.
Yeah.
And if all that negativity is pouring out, it's just not good for anybody,
No.
is it? At least of all me.
Yeah.
Because, who has to sit there reading it and him?
Yeah, so we hope your day and life improves.
Yeah.
Genuinely, we really do hope that for you
Do
guys.
something you enjoy.
But let's return finally to the whole Morning Glory subject.
Okay, Wordsworth J. Lang has the final view on it, and he says, I think Josh Scott is a pretty big Oasis fan.
He is indeed.
And one of their songs is named Morning Glory. In fact, there was a whole album called What's the Story Morning Glory, wasn't there? Not everything is a double entendre, Dan.
This is true. I walked into a bar once, and asked the barman for a double entendre. And he gave me one.